Hello, YouTube. All right, so I was looking at my YouTube feed today, and up popped the video with Element Van Life. Except now he's just Element Life because he's not in a van anymore. Apparently, he got a house, an off-grid tiny home that is parked out in the desert in New Mexico. And, you know, I had mentioned this previously, but it seems like all the original Vandweller channels, you know, the people who were living in a van, before it became like a big thing for the Instagram models, you know, the people who were actually living in a van, the original group, okay, there was like maybe like a dozen originals, OGs. Element Van Life was one of them, and apparently he bought a house, a tiny house, and had it towed to his, I guess, his property, off-grid property in New Mexico. And he was doing a video about his house, you know, the cabin that was already there, as well as a tiny house that he had towed out there, and about how he was trying to stay cool in the desert. I think I had covered this in a previous video where Bob Wells was recommending that people get land out in, I don't know if it was New Mexico or Arizona, out in the desert. But, you know, you're out there in the middle of nowhere with no water, no electricity. Now, I think if you're a van dweller, you have the advantage of knowing how to survive with minimal, you know, water and electricity. So they know how to generate electricity using solar panels and whatnot. They just don't have a huge system. They have a small system. Or, you know, Element Van Life and this girl, they have a system that's enough to run their electric refrigerator. So that's good. But he's out there in the desert. But that got me to thinking about all the van dwellers, all the OG, the original group, and how very few of the originals are still van dwelling. You know, off the top of my head, what I can think of is Will Burson. Okay, if you guys remember Will Burson, he was like showing how he could retire at like 40, living in a van, and he saved up all his money and stuff. And now I think he's living in Mexico. I think he has an apartment or a condo in Mexico. That was the last time I checked in on him. If his status has changed, let me know. Also, Just Incredible from, you know, Just Incredible TV, the channel Just Incredible. He was promoting. He was like a big, huge promoter of living in a van or, you know, some other vehicle, but mostly living in a van. He had like different vans that were really cool. His were like really decked out. And he's Canadian, and he apparently bought an off-grid house. Well, he bought a land. He bought like a land on an island. I don't know if it's his own island, but it's on a little island, and in Canada. And he has a tiny house that he had built. You know, he didn't build it, but he paid people to build it for him. So he's living off-grid in that tiny house. Myself, you know, I'm on grid, but semi on grid. I'm living somewhat off grid because I'm using my skills, you know, that I learned to conserve and make electricity and stuff. So even though I'm on the grid, I'm kind of off the grid still. The house is on grid, but I'm living as if I'm off grid, somewhat. I do enjoy air conditioning. Unlike those people who move out to the desert and are doing videos on how to stay cool. But anyhow, who else? Can you guys think of any other original van dwellers? The channels that you know of? I know Nomadic Fanatic. Okay, he's still, you know, he upgraded from living in a van to living in an RV, and he's gone through multiple RVs. I suspect he may have a house somewhere, or bought one, or will be buying one. If he hasn't bought one, well, I'm not going to tell somebody how to live their life, but if I were him, I would have bought a house, even if I was still living in the RV, because the prices are just going up and up and up and up and up. Maybe they'll drop down, but I don't know. I would get a place for home base. Oh yeah, there was another one. Inspirational Nomad. You know, he was living in a van and saving money and stuff, and now he bought a an RV with the lot, you know, so he owns the lot and the RV that's on the lot in South Florida. So he says he's living his dream life, you know, being in South Florida and stuff. And the RV lot is like right on the beach, you know, just like yards away from the beach. It's in his backyard. So a lot of people have moved on from living in a van to living in a house of sticks and bricks. And now, maybe someone can clarify for me about Bob Wells. You know, I know Bob Wells, yeah, he has land too, that he says he parks his stuff there. So, you know, I don't know how often Bob Wells goes to his land, you know, but I think his land is the one that he was pushing, you know, he was telling people that you could buy land in the desert. But I think even Bob Wells, okay, the king of living in a van, has a house. And the reason I'm pointing all this out is, you know, I still see a lot of people wanting to live in a van. And I know, you know, the Instagram people, they make it all look glamorous and stuff. If you've been on this channel, then you saw my video, the not so glamorous van life. Because that's the realities of living in a van. Not the glamour stuff you see on the Instagram and on those glamour channels with the hot looking chick and the buff looking guy. You know, the reality is, it sucks. Living in a van sucks. I'm gonna be honest, it sucks. I mean, there are good moments and stuff, but it really does suck to live in a van. Now, does that mean I think you shouldn't live in a van? No, I think for some people, you know, it might be a good thing to live in a van, but I don't recommend it permanently, because that's a good way to put a lot of wear and tear on your body and your mind, your mental state. It's difficult living in a van. You're dealing with nature. You are very close to nature when you're living in a vehicle. And, you know, you're having to get up and react to nature, like when a bad storm or a hurricane blows through. You got to deal with that. And then you're also dealing with society and society's rules. The cops are always knocking and telling you to move, or sometimes threatening to tow your vehicle, you know. People are always thinking that you're up to no good when you're just sitting there trying to chill. People think you're a bum. But anyhow, if you're having to live in a vehicle or wanting to live in a vehicle because you have a goal, like you realize that if you're a college student, for what you pay for, you know, living on campus, you could save all that money by living in a vehicle, okay? So you're only doing it temporarily, like for a couple of years or whatever, to save money, because you're going to save that money that you would otherwise use to pay for rent. You know, that to me makes sense. Or if you're young and starting out and you're trying to save money. Now, if you're young and starting out and you don't have a job and you have no source of income and you want to live in a van because you think it's a free life, I hate to tell you, it's not a free life. You know, it could be more expensive living in a vehicle than living in sticks and bricks. You know, it's much cheaper for me now that I own the home. The key is owning the home, like paying for it outright, and you don't have to pay a mortgage or something. So I own the house. I'm living semi off grid, you know, so my cost of living there is less than $150 a month. So my cost of living is less than $150 a month if you don't add gasoline for going back and forth to work and food, you know, but even that's minimal, except for the gas part. But yeah, it's just interesting. If you guys watch other Vandwellers, let me know their status. I'm trying to think of anyone else. What's his name had quit? Remember, what was that guy? Anthony, was it Anthony something? Not Life with Anthony, but there was another Anthony. There was a, dang it, what was his name? He had that girl, the blonde, that people were saying was crazy. Him and the girl. Darn it, I forget what's his name. It'll come to me later, but he started off with the school bus. I think they had a school bus conversion, and then they went down to a Sprinter van, and then they got rid of the Sprinter van, and then he ended up with the van. And he used to hang out with the first guy I mentioned, which is Will Burson. So he and Will Burson did a video together. They used to hang out. They used to be like buddies. So I'm trying to remember his channel. I can't. But I guess he ended up, you know, he built a tiny house like a trailer, and he kept getting new girlfriends. But they seemed like they didn't last very long. You know, they helped him along the way. Like he had the first girl, which was that blonde that everyone was tea time with. What's her name? You guys remember all this? All these people I'm talking about? So, you know, he had a divorce from her. Then he met some other girl, and she helped him build the tiny house on wheels, you know, the trailer. And then shortly after that, you know, I guess they broke up. But now he's living in a house with some other girl. So he had a house, lost the house, lived in a bus, then lived in a Sprinter van, and then broke up, you know, got a divorce, and then lived in a tiny van by himself, and then met another girl and upgraded back up to a trailer home, you know, not a trailer home, but a self-built trailer tiny house. And then I guess he left her and is now with another girl in a real house. I should put links for all this. Anyhow, let me know your thoughts on Vandwellers moving into a house. I think the reason they do it is because van life is hard. Don't let the Instagram models and those YouTube channels tell you that living in a van is easy. I think if you're going to do it temporarily because you want to travel, or if you're doing it because out of necessity, because you don't have enough money, to live, but you should be working to try to get out of that. Or if you have a goal in mind, like you do have a job, but you're trying to save money, so you know it's a temporary thing. There's going to be an end to it very soon. It's not going to be like a forever thing. But if you're thinking that living in a van is going to give you an easier life, you're going to be shocked. It's harder. So keep that in mind. Let me know your thoughts and other van dwellers that you are aware of, the original group who are no longer living in a van. Until next time, everyone, take care. God bless you all. Stay safe. Bye-bye now.